All right, my lovely peeps. So good to see you again. I just love you guys. Just amazing. Okay, so let's get into it. And before we get started, also I want to say, lots of people say, they don't like the history. I'm covering lots of the history aspect as well as the archaeology. Others just cover the archaeology because the archaeologists say we want to see some evidence first before we'll even entertain this. But when you think about it, they don't actually look at the evidence themselves. What they really want is, and what they really mean is, I want someone else to approve this line of thought before I allow myself to think down this passageway of thought. So let's get into it. So, Atlas origins, we're going to talk about a few things in this video that have just become apparent. Atlas origins as the moon's horns, and we'll see why. Atlas holding the moon basically as the crescent moon, we'll see why. Vast parts of Europe are still named after the Atlantic Atlantis. And you're going to say, that's not possible. I haven't seen that on the map, but you will in a second. So Diodorus of Sicily, basically 1st and 2nd century chronicler, we call that late antiquity, I guess, late classical period. He has a great deal to say, but as always is ignored. A great deal to say, because we are not looking through the lens required to understand what he's saying. Buddhism originates as King Atlas's doctrine of the sphere, that is King Atlas of Atlantis, according to Diodorus. And as does Pythagoreanism, the same thing. Buddha, whatever. It's the same thing. And this is named after Oda, or water. So the water doctrine is named after the sphere. It is the doctrine of astronomy, because the moon is named after the water. And the ocean is named after the eyeball, the oca, and we take it from there. Diodorus said that Atlanteans originated this doctrine of the sphere, and that means that the imperial system, which is based on the Earth's units, must also have been part of the doctrine of the sphere. So he's kind of saying the imperial units, the imperial measures, although he doesn't say it directly, come from the doctrine of the sphere, which come from King Atlas, the philosopher king of Atlantis. And the implications are that the imperial units were invented on this Atlantic island, and before 10,000 years ago, because that was only the end of Atlantis, was it not? And we have that vast ice age period, do we not, in which they could have discovered this. And I can't find any origin of the imperial units, no matter how far back I go, because I've been examining Karahan Göbekli Tepe, and I've noticed some correspondences with the imperial units. Okay, let's move on. So the Aquitani, and this goes to our point that vast parts of Europe are named after the Atlantic Ocean. So the Aquitani, and everyone says, okay, this is the name of their tribe, the Aquitaine. However, everyone says this name, it comes from aqua. It actually comes from it was another article, but it was saying that this tribe's name comes from Latin aqua because of their proximity to the Atlantic Ocean. So they are the water tribe. And as we know, Atla, etc., it means voda, water. It's the same root as water, is where we get Atlas. And we'll see a moon correspondence as well, since the moon is water in the old texts. And we've seen that, therefore, in the previous video or two, that Genesis begins with a lunar eclipse. In the middle of, actually at the end of a lunar eclipse, it's dark. And then it becomes, the light comes back. So that's fascinating. So let's continue. Italy is named after Atlas, which is named, or Italos or Atlas, which is named after, therefore named after the water kingdom. And Diodorus, actually, we'll see, he says that Kronos, the brother of Atlas, was ruling over Italy. So we think, where does the name come from? It's older than this, obviously. There was a modern kingdom of Italy, 1861. It's older than that, because there was also an Imperial kingdom of Italy under the Holy Romans, who were the Franks and the Germans. and this was their kingdom, and the capital is Rome. Later on, it was, I suppose, it would have been Milan, Genoa. It was kind of centered around Savoy, Piedmont, and the modern king was obviously House of Savoy up here. Let's see if we can. Oh, we can't zoom, but there we go. The modern king comes from the House of Savoy in Piedmont, and which is almost France, isn't it? And when you look at it, that's quite a long way away, isn't it? Anyway, from the rest of it. Okay. And where does the name Italy come from? Prehistoric. The Romans were using it. I've seen it pop up in the Middle Ages. It was called Italy. The peninsula itself was geographically called Italy. Just absolutely fascinating. Just fascinating. So, according to AI, the name comes from Italos, the legendary king. It may also come from an Etruscan word from bull. That's interesting. I suppose because you got those two horns on the bottom of the boot of Italy, maybe. So this is Diodorus. So Diodorus is a brilliant writer, and so he was a great historian of late antiquity, early antiquity. And let me see now. Where did we put that writing? It's got to be here somewhere. Ah, there it is. So let's start here. So he talks a great deal about the wars between the Atlanteans and the Amazons, and how the Amazons invaded Atlantean territory. And people who cover Atlantis, they want to stick to the primary sources. So they stick to Plato and all this. Look, do you really think Plato is a primary source on Atlantis? If we're talking 10,000 years ago? So why not also consider Diodorus? No one looks at Diodorus, but Diodorus is the best ancient historian. If you look at the Loeb library, or whatever library you want to use, his books take up half a shelf. This is a much better historian than Herodotus. He gives his own interpretations about the Egyptian history and the pyramids and everything. And he's basing everything, it seems, on a vast library in Sicily, which he has access to, which no longer exists. But anyway, let's get to it. After the death of Hyperion, this is one of the Atlanteans, the myth relates the kingdom was divided among the sons of Waranu, the most renowned of whom were Atlas and Kronos. One of these sons Atlas received as his part of the regions on the coast of the ocean. He not only gave the name of Atlanteans to his people, that is, the water people, but likewise called the greatest mountain in the land Atlas. They also say that he perfected the science of astrology and was the first to publish to mankind the doctrine of the sphere. And the editor has a note on this. It has been conjectured that the name is derived from the verb to... Oh no, here we go. Atlas discovered the spherical nature of the stars. Ancient writers in many places refer to Atlas as the discoverer of astronomy. He's saying that stars are suns. And since Diodorus is referring to the first beginnings of astronomical thinking among the Greeks, we have in these references to the doctrine of the sphere and the spherical nature of the stars a memory of the Pythagorean quadrivium, in which spheritic means astronomy, being the geometry of the sphere, considered solely with the reference to the problem of accounting for the... Look, just... yeah, okay, look, just forget about what he's saying. But it's kind of what we're saying, that it's Pythagoreanism, it's the origin of Buddhism. Let me see now. Where is he? Where is he? Where is he? Come on, come on, come on, come on. There we go. The doctrine of the sphere must be the origin of the imperial units, because what's happening is the imperial units originate in earth measure, which is geomancy. And this is the point of earth measure, that you're finding the units that make up the holy earth. The earth was worshipped, it was seen as holy. And it still is in terms of the laughing Buddha, who is worshipped, and who is a sphere, and who is named after water. And this was the origin of the pyramid religion as well. And it's the reason why the pyramids contain all the earth measures. It's the same religion. So that's it. So it's suggesting that this pyramid religion, or Buddhism, or Pythagoreanism, or Druidism, it's all the same thing, originates 10,000 years ago. And it was for this reason that the idea was held that the entire heavens were supported on the shoulders of Atlas, the myth darkly hinting in this way at his discovery, and description of the sphere. So Diodorus is actually supplying his own interpretation. There were born to him a number of sons, one of whom was distinguished above the others for his piety, justice to his subjects, and love of mankind, his name being Hesperus. This king, having once climbed to the peak of Mount Atlas, was suddenly snatched away by mighty winds when he was making his observations of the stars, and never was seen again. And because of the virtuous life he had lived, and their piety for his sad fate, the multitudes accorded to him immortal honours and called the brightest of the stars of heaven after him. So he was doing some sort of astronomy on the peak of a mountain, because astronomers go to the mountain peaks in order to have very clear seeing. The seeing is the flickering of the stars due to the atmospheric movement. So this person seems to have had an observatory on top of a mountain, and he died in his observatory on top of the mountain. He was an astronomer. It's as clear as day. Atlas, the myth goes on, and this was in Atlantis. Atlas, the myth goes on to relate, also had 7 daughters, who as a group were called the Atlantides after their father, but their individual names were Maya, Electra, Taigit, Sterope, Merope, Halcyon, and the last was Kailano. And these daughters lay with the most renowned heroes and gods, and thus became the first ancestors of the larger part of the race of human beings, giving birth to those who, because of their high achievements, came to be called gods and heroes. So what is actually elaborated in Diodorus, but less so in Plato, is that the gods come from Atlantis. These were the artifice gods, the gods who could create things. So somewhere in the Atlantic, there is a race of inventors. And you see this echoing down the tradition. You see it in the Odyssey, where the furthest land has these mechanical statues and ships that move without any crew and all these sorts of weird machines. And you think this is very, very strange stuff. The ancient myth of the Greek who went inside the whale and he could look out through the eyeballs, which were basically portals of a submarine. I mean, you have all these things popping up in mythology and you think, damn, the destruction must have been incredibly great for us to forget all these inventions. And look, he goes on and on and on. Immortal honour among men, Pleiades, etc. Cronus, and it says here, Cronus, the brother of Atlas, who was a man notorious for his impiety and greed, married Rhea, his sister, by whom he begat that Zeus who later was called the Olympian. But there was also another Zeus, the brother of Waranu and a king of Crete, who, however, was far less famous than Zeus, who was born at a later time. Now, the latter was king over the entire world, whereas the earlier Zeus, who was lord of the above-mentioned island, so Zeus was it was a title of a king, and one was a king of the world, one was a king of the island, and we've read earlier that all humans came from this island, essentially. Begat 10 sons who were given the name of Curetes, and the island he named after his wife Idea, and on it he died and was buried, and the place which he received his grave is pointed out to our day. The Cretans, however, have a myth which does not agree with the story given above, and we shall give a detailed account when we speak of Crete. But look, Cronus, they say, was lord of Sicily and Libya and Italy. I've also seen earlier, he says this was an empire of Atlas, Italos, one of the earliest kings of Italy. So we can see the point is, these vast areas of Europe are still named after this ancient mythology, these ancient kings, to this day. So the Atlantean myth is not just Plato. Diodorus has access to more information based on Egyptian sources. He's got them from presumably Alexandrian sources, which is amazing. And there's more information out there. So I want to tell people, look, there's always more information out there. You can always get more information. The more you look into it, the more you find. So I've said that Buddhism is actually, that's what this is. We're tying all our videos together. We've shown in earlier things that the Buddhist monastic religion is the religion of the moon, and hence we get the word monastery. And hence it's on the mountains, the mountains, and the Four Noble Truths is basically dividing the earth into four. The Celtic cross. The Crossism religion is what gave name to the Christians. The Christians of Jesus, etc., usurped the name Christian from the Crossians, who would put crosses everywhere, because the cross was essentially supposed to be in a circle. It is this alchemical symbol of the earth. And from this we have so-called Christianity, but it's actually all about the division of the earth into four. Hence the Great Pyramid points into four different directions, showing the division of the planet. And this was literally worshipping the planet. And hence it was the planet itself was God. It was worshipped. Earth is named after the word order, which is the whole order of creation. So Buddhism, it's clearly named after Uda, water, is a religion of philosophy. It says it originated in India. Look, that is the resurgence. that is part of it. But this religion was everywhere. I see it in pottery jars from Poland. You see the same not laughing, but you see the same round, huge god. You see it in the spheres of America. You see it in the Olmec statues. It goes way, way further back. Four Noble Truths, Eightfold Paths, the division of the Great Pyramid into eight. It goes to it's in ancient Egypt. It goes all the way back. This is a branch of it. Okay, it's a branch of an earlier religion. Simple as that. Just like the Jesus religion is a branch of the earlier crossing religion. And the reason, we've said it before, this guy's round is he's named after Earth. Now, according to people with, let's call them people with tunnel vision, right? A nickname given to a historical Chinese monk named Chi-Chi. So basically, according to this, a 10th century monk called Chi-Chi was called Buddha, right? For no reason whatsoever, all right? This makes no sense at all, okay? So Chi-Chi was called, look, forget about it, right? This is a very old religion named after the water. It is named after the planet because the planet was known to be mostly water. The sky is blue. Why is the sky blue? Is it reflecting the ocean? Is it scattering the waves? There were different interpretations in ancient times. The ocean is named after the blue eyeball, and he is round because he is the planet Earth. And the planet Earth is laughing to vibrate, to shake the cosmic ocean, which was the early Earth, and the idea of the early Earth being a cosmic ocean lies in the fact that they may have known that the Earth was mostly ocean and less land, and this needs to be vibrated. Here we have it as the colour of the moon. I've said it's the moon in the Bible. And we have the origin of Atlas. Because the moon must be the water god, which it usually is, we see Atlas with his two arms holding up the world. So the origin of Atlas is the crescent. The origin of the crescent, it's basically an Atlantean symbol, isn't it? It's the horns. And actually, I think, from memory, Diodorus says the Atlanteans wore horned helmets. I'm not sure about that. You'd have to check that out. But here we have the first picture of Atlas with his two arms holding up the Earth, and this is how it would have happened, by looking at the moon, I believe. So what's that in the sky? Oh, it's Atlas, the water god. The moon is water, holding up the moon. I hope you've really enjoyed the video.